Hello, everyone. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you on this Saturday morning. I hope that you guys have had a prosperous and progressive week. I hope that you have an idea of how you are going to use your weekend to continue the momentum, or if you had a somewhat subpar week, what ways you're going to use the weekend to reshift, to refocus, to recenter in order to obtain the things that you seek. Those of you who have followed me for any time understand that I have a broad scope of how I view life in the sense of it, my progression. Obviously, I'm an African American, a black man. However you want to view my blackness, a descendant of Africa, and I embrace that first. But I'm also a husband, a father, a businessman, a person that's engaged in the community, and I take all those things and the responsibilities associated with them seriously. When it comes to my business, I have several. Over the course of my life, I've had the opportunity to do quite a bit in business. But right now I'm running a number of different businesses on a number of different fronts. But the one thing that is at up front and center and gets the majority of my attention is my company, the Visionetics Institute, which is about life mastery. It's about taking your vision, putting it in front of you, and then undressing yourself to build the person that's capable of achieving the vision. And it requires a lot. It requires, for most people, I tell my clients all the time, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. If it's something in life that you want and you consistently have failed at achieving it, you look inside. You're going to always have obstacles on the outside. You're going to always have things moving against you. You're going to have consistent resistance. Life is built on resistance. Strength is built on resistance. Endurance is built on resistance. So you expect resistance. You look for it. You move against it. When an eagle is looking to get the height that no other bird can get, the eagle moves against the wind, not running from it, not fighting or running away from the resistance, but engaging it. It is in the gym. When you hit and meet the resistance in the gym, you gain strength, muscle atrophy, and a better physique and a better overall level of fitness. It's anywhere in life, psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. If you're avoiding resistance, if you're attempting to circumvent the vicissitudes of life, in order to find that place of comfort, you're robbing yourself of the very tools that are necessary to get to the place that you're saying you want to be. I see this all the time. I want the promise, but I'm not willing to endure the process. You can't have the promise without first enduring the process. Process always precedes promise. You're going to have to go through some things. You're going to have to be willing to take some bumps and bruises. You're going to have to be willing to fail. And see, that's the one thing people don't understand, and that's the one thing people don't want to talk about. People don't want to talk about the possibility of failure. Most people are procrastinating based on the fear of failure. First of all, nobody gets through this life without experiencing failure on some level. And I will tell you that the most successful people experience failure the most. Why? Because they're willing to try things that other people won't even try. You can't get to where you're going. You can't get to where you're going without being willing to take risks. As long as you're continuously doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to continuously get what everybody else gets. And that puts you in a place of being average. If you want to come out of the mold of being average, you've got to be willing to do some things that people aren't willing to do. You've got to be willing to push yourself to levels that other people aren't willing to push yourself. If everybody else is that, if the average America sleeps to 7 to 7:30, you need to be up at 5:30. You've got to sit up and say, okay, if everybody else is investing, 30 hours a week or 40 hours a week or whatever it is into a job, and that's what they're trying to use to advance themselves financially, you need to be investing 75, 80 hours a week into building something completely different than what they're doing. You've got to always say, number one is, I'm going to tell you this, strategy plays an immensely powerful role in advancing, because the more you know, the fewer mistakes you make. But nothing beats the psychology of believing in yourself and being committed to the grind. Because what I'll tell you is I've seen people who didn't have a clue about what it is they wanted to do, but just refused not to stop and get there. I've seen people handed the exact blueprint, but didn't have the will and drive, never made it. What I actually want to talk with you about is one of the most important components of getting to a point in life, what I call next level living. Living life on the next level, living life at the level of your design. And it is the pruning of your circle, what I like to call your periphery, that part around you that is not directly you, but heavily influences your ideology, influences your environment, influences the way you see things, your perspective, and your paradigms. And one of the first things you're going to have to do is understand that what you program your brain with, the information you consistently allow to penetrate the gates of your brain, your mind, is stored in synaptic connections inside of your brain, the physical part of the thought process. And when those things are stored, they influence your belief system, because those stored memories, those stored ideas support a particular idea or belief. And if you got somebody around you consistently telling you why you shouldn't start a business because so many percent of every business is failed within the first blah, 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 you've heard the story. If you've got somebody telling you that because you come from a particular background that you cannot achieve financial security because this, and this, or that if you don't have a job, at least making this, you can't invest, or whatever the situation is, there are all these different beliefs that people have developed primarily because somebody else told it to them and they received it. I tell my clients all the time, the only limit you have in this life, and I mean only one, that is real and absolute, are the ones that you accept in your mind. When you remove the parameters of what you're holding in your mind, now I'm not talking about say it. You know, a lot of people talk the faith life. In whatever way that you practice your faith, a lot of people talk it, but very few people execute it. See, it's one thing to say I believe. It's one thing to sit up and say this is what I believe. It's one thing to sit up and talk about it, but until you examine the true depths of what you're saying you're believing and you become truly committed to it to the point that you walk past the pain, it's not faith. See, if I can sit up and I can figure it out, if I can sit up and I can break it down, I can analyze it. Yeah, I'm not operating on faith, I'm operating on logic. It's not until I move past logic that I start to examine the phenomenal, examine and come face to face with the exceptional and the extraordinary. It's when I decide that I can't see it that I step out. Like William Hutchinson Murray said, it's not until you make the commitment, make the first move, that providence moves on your behalf. It's the universe waiting on you to make a decision that I'm truly committed to it. I'm not saying I'm committed to it. You can see it in my actions. You can see, number one is, if everybody around you is looking at you and they hear you saying it, but they don't see you at least trying to do it. And I mean committed to it, because you got a lot of people that try or get out there and do something so that they can say that they try. Oh man, I tried everything. No, you didn't try everything. You got out there, you tried for a minute, whatever a minute is in relation to what it is you're trying to do. You got out there, you tried for a minute. Okay. And it didn't work, so you quit. See, you're not invested, truly invested. You're not committed. You're wanting something to happen for you without paying the cost. Now, this world is designed to respond to you. Despite what you've been told all your life, that puts you in a victim mindset that life is happening to you. It's not. It's responding to you. It's responding to your energy, your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions. It's responding to what you expect in your life. What you're expecting is what you get met by life, by God, by the universe, by what you expect. The universe, God, life is going to meet you at the level of your expectations. You can talk the game all you want to. You can sit up and say how much faith you have. But I'm guaranteeing and I'm telling you, it's not until you start walking that faith, start believing in the power you say you have, start using the power you say you have to achieve the things that are possible. And this is what I tell you is possible. If you can conceive it in your mind, that's God's evidence that it's possible. If you can conceive it in your mind, that's God's evidence that it's possible to you. No matter how you see God, no matter what your faith base is, I'm not telling you how to believe right here. I'm telling you this. No matter how you see God, most everybody that has a belief in a supreme being believes that that supreme being is benevolent, meaning that that supreme being means good for them. Well, if God is all powerful and God is the designer of all things and God is benevolent, what type of benevolent God would design a creature that rests at the pedestal of what he's created and designed, meaning the pinnacle is probably a better word of what he's designed, and then give that creature the capacity to dream about something that they could never have? That's the cruelest thing in the world. So if I believe that there is a purpose in my life and that I was designed for something special, that I was designed to do something extraordinary, that I'm built to do things, I'm built for the battle, I'm built for this, then I have to believe that this same God that designed me would not design me and then put this vision, a dream, or allow me to have the capacity to dream about it, only to suffer loss and not be able to ever experience it. So when I am able to come up with something in mind, I don't care how crazy it is, how far-fetched it is, how far down the line it seems, if I can get it in my mind, I can have it. So if I want it, I'm going for it. I don't care what the cost is. I don't care how long it takes me to get there. I've set goals and I've fallen way short of hitting that goal, but I got progress and progress and progress. It may have took me 2 years longer than what I expected, but I got there because I refused to quit. Quitting is not in my vocabulary. Cat is not in my vocabulary. And if you ask anybody that's been around me for more than 3 years, they will tell you one thing you do not say around this cat is be realistic. That when someone tries to tell me to be realistic, what they're saying is they have limiting beliefs. They have beliefs that block them into a box, that keeps them locked into an idea of what other people expect of them. They've taken the definitions of other people's opinions and defined their own image of themselves. And now they want to use that limiting belief that locks them into a certain point of life and impose it on me. And that's one of the quickest ways to get ejected out of my circle. You are not going to come in and inject a limiting belief in a box that you want to pile everybody else in because you live in it. If you don't want to climb out of it, you got to go live in it somewhere else. And that's what I'm telling you. It's one of the first things that you've got to do. When you're sitting up and you're talking about doing something different in your life, you're talking about changing your situation, changing your results, living life at a different level. And what I'm talking about here goes far beyond finance. First thing that I have to tell you is money is a powerful medium, but that's all it is. It's a medium. Money is a means to a particular end you want. Money is the means to that thing that you truly want. And you give so much fixation on money that you lose sight of other things that can get you to where you're trying to go. Yeah, you need to have capital, but capital comes in multiple forms. Your number one source of capital is your mind. You'll never believe the things that I've been able to accomplish simply by being creative in my thought, bypassing the need for currency and using other things I had readily at my disposal as capital. Then I turned around and was able to create capital from the fixed or the set resources I was able to come up with and create. It's just simply saying I'm going to take the lid off of my mind, this mind that has absolutely no limits except those that I impose upon it, and then I'm going to use this brain, this material computer that is more powerful than any man-made computer. A computer, the brain that processes 4 billion bits of information per second, of which only 2,000 you are actually aware of, but this brain, this material matter between your mind, When you program it with the right information, when you filter out all of the negative stuff, when you guard it against viruses of fear, viruses of doubt, viruses of procrastination, viruses of limiting beliefs, when you guard this computer between your ears from all of those viruses, and you upload hope, you upload faith, you upload a belief in yourself, you upload the idea that if I can conceive it, I can achieve it, you upload a mindset of grinding, you upload all those things. Then when you go with your mind, which is your user, which is the ultimate representation of who you are at different levels, when your mind starts to access your brain, the actual physiological part of your mind, that computer, and you start to ask it questions, you will have trained yourself, and you will have uploaded what you need in the computer, first of all, but then you will have trained yourself to ask the right questions. If you go to Google right now and say, why am I going to fail in business? What is Google going to pull up? Every reason that businesses fail. It's not going to go out there and show you that. It's not going to go out and automatically pull up how you can stop your business from failing, because that's not what you asked it. Your brain is the same way. It's a servo mechanism. It is designed to produce to you what you focus on, what you're asking yourself, what you give emphasis or validity or whatever, the most attention to. So you can literally be sitting up saying, I don't want to be poor. But if that's all you think about is what you don't want to be and you don't want to be poor, your mind is actually finding all the things associated with poverty. It's not finding wealth. You have to shift that and think about what you want to be, where you're trying to go, what you're trying to do. And then when you've got these people in your periphery that love to, I call them minimum-minded people that love to whisper the sweet nothings of negativity. They have literally, you got people in this world who have literally made it their life's work to bring everybody down to their level, to reach into your life and explain to you why you can't do something. It's what they do best, is come up with reasons why you can't, because they've already studied all the reasons why they can't. They never have thought to examine what they could do or how they could do something. They simply decided, you know what? I can't do that. You know why I can't do that? I can't do it because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this. I got all of these things, these reasons. And then when you walk into their life, think about it. You have this part of your brain called the reticular activating system. It's literally a part of the neurological process that rests right at the base of the spine and the base of the brain and the top of the spine. And the reticular activating system is actually a filter that looks at what your conscious mind gives the most attention to and the most priority to, and it filters out things. So you basically tell the reticular activating system what's important to you. It filters out everything else and focuses on that. I'll give you a prime example of that. Have you ever sit up and went to a car dealership and decided, hey, this is the car I want? You buy that car, and now that you've got that car, you see that car every freaking where. I mean, you may have seen it once before, or you got there at a dealership and fell in love with it, whatever, or you got a specific color that was kind of, you thought was unique, but now when you get on the street, everywhere you look, you got that color. Why? You've told your reticular activating system that that car is important to you because of the energy you put into it, because of the way you behave, the thoughts. That car becomes a priority to you. Well, you can do the same thing on the positive or the negative side with absolutely anything. The thing you tell your brain, your conscious mind, says that is important to it, the reticular activating system now starts to filter, because remember, your subconscious mind or your non-conscious brain is literally processing 4 billion bits of information per second. You can't even wrap your mind around it, but it's doing that. But you're not even aware of it. Why? Because it's only going to reveal to you those things that are important to you at any given moment. Prime example, I pull up to a red light. What's the most important thing at that time? Is when that light turns green and am I safe to pass? So everything else that happens in that situation becomes secondary, third and fourth down the line, the priority line. You know, I may be able to notice what this guy is doing in his car, that I may be aware of if I've got the kids in the backseat, what they're doing. But there's a whole bunch of things going around in the air, on the poles, in the parking lot, everything. Your mind's picking it up. It doesn't miss anything. That's why I tell people who say that television programming is just entertainment, you don't understand. Your brain picks up everything, and depending on how you interpret it or what you do, it takes it. It stores it. It's in there. That's why you guard your gate. You give your body. There are certain things you can't unsee. Well, you can't unsee anything, but there are certain things you can't avoid seeing. If you're in a place and you see something, you saw it, and now it's in there. But what you can do is you can determine how much of the positive stuff you're going to feed yourself, how much of the positive energy you're going to get, how many books are you going to read that talk about what we can do? How many books are you going to read that talk about the positive traces of your own ancestry and your history? How many positive books are you going to read that show people who came exactly from where you came from and done extraordinary and exceptional things? How many books are you going to read that talk about some of the greatest minds were considered to be intellectually inferior early in life, but then blew the whole world up and took the world by storm and remembered years and years and years after they left this place, meaning they left a legacy? What are you doing to feel that? And what you can't have is this person constantly in your circle being a part of the negative influence that's going into your mind, because you're constantly having to fight that negativity, which is energy. It's taking energy to reject that negative energy. You're fighting off something that you don't have to fight off. You simply remove that negative influence. That's less energy used on something that has no progression but to defend you. You want to spend as little time as possible defending your position, defending your dream, defending your ideas. You want to use as much of the time as you have moving towards your dream, investing in your dreams, not trying to explain to someone who's in your circle. Now, let me explain something. This is going to be a difficult part. Why? Because the people in your circle aren't the people you look at as enemies. These aren't the people that you look at and say, you know what, this person ain't got no love for me. These are the people that the vast majority of them actually think they're helping you. These are going to be the people that actually believe by telling you what they're telling you, they are saving you from yourself. Why? Because they have a certain belief system. Now, here's the thing. When you start to embrace new ideas, new ways of doing things, which is going to be a requirement in order to get to where you're trying to get, you're going to have to understand something. You're going to be engaging thoughts, theories, practices, and principles that don't align with the ones you've been using all the time. The ones you've been using all the time, remember, haven't gotten you there. And however long you've been trying, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 25, however long it's been, it's not gotten you there. So the first thing you have to be willing to do is say, okay, this way doesn't work. The second thing that you've got to be able to do before you start engaging other ideas is to get your mind wrapped around the idea that new ideas are going to seem strange. A lot of times they will seem foolish. They will seem illogical. They won't make sense. Why? Because I'm operating from a different paradigm. But what I have to look at is, does these things that I'm setting up, do these things that I'm setting up produce results? So when people are sharing with me things, this is what I've done. Man, you got to try this. Man, you got to do this. I'm looking, okay, did it work for you? Are you in a better position thinking? Are you in a better situation? Did it work for you? If we're talking relationships, did it work in your marriage? If we're talking business, how did it benefit your business? If we're talking wealth building, how did it grow your portfolio? All of these different things, where are you at in whatever you're doing? Have you learned this, and this? Did it benefit? And then if it's working for multiple people, then you're dealing with something that's actually more than a principle. You're probably dealing with something that's tied into one of the 7 universal laws that basically guide all human activity and reality. I mean, you are subject to these laws. And when you learn how to use these laws, actually then you start to look at what most people talk about and call the law of attraction. But it's actually the understanding of the 7 universal laws and the putting into play those laws in a way that produce for you exactly what you want it to. And it's possible. You have the capacity within your brain to create your reality. Matter of fact, you're doing it now. You're just not creating the reality you want to. Your mind, your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. It's that simple. What you're thinking now is going to produce a physical reality at some point. How you invest in your thoughts, how you invest in your time is going to produce a result. It's coming back to you. You're planting a harvest with your thoughts, whether you want to or not. I mean, you're planting it. And at some point, the harvest is going to become ripe, and it's going to manifest. So what you do is you start to deal with what you're thinking. You change your thinking, you change your approach. But what I have to explain and what I'm trying to get across to you, at that time when you're shifting, it's not going to make sense. If you've been told all your life, you go to school, you get a job, you get an education, you go to college, get a degree, and you get your job in a Fortune 500 company and you work your way up, and somebody comes and says, man, you need to walk away. You might have to walk away from a six-figure salary to start your own business and only make $35,000, $40,000 the first year in order to build the foundation that you need to be your own boss, become independent, and explain to you that I know a bunch of people who are six-figure people, but if they lost their jobs within 6 months would be homeless, and you can actually build from here and control your own destiny because you control your direction and you have the most powerful component of wealth building, which is ownership. That it's going to sound crazy to you. No, mama told me and grandmama told, and what you've been given is, when you look back and you look at how many people are practicing that particular mindset of going through the work process, the educational process, the work process, to get a job in a Fortune 500 company, how many of them are independently wealthy? It's what sounds good because it's what's said the most. But what you've got to look and say, okay, if I'm going to change, what I have to realize is there are a whole lot more people who want wealth that don't have it than there are people who have wealth. So that means that the people who have wealth are doing something that's not that popular, that not everybody's doing. So when I start doing it, people are not going to understand it. It's not going to make sense. They're going to say I'm stupid. They're going to say I'm crazy. They're going to say I'm foolish. But they don't understand the psychology of it. They don't understand the principles of it. They're not aware of the universal laws that are in play. There's so many different things that are going on that these people don't understand that I do. So what I can do is I can spend all of my time trying to explain to them why what I'm doing makes sense, or I can sit up and say, you can either believe in me and stand back. See, the thing is, you don't have to know how I'm doing it or even think what I'm doing makes sense, but you should believe in me enough to sit back and say, hey, sometimes you got to let somebody crash and burn, in order for them to get through the next thing. That's a part of the process. Sometimes you're going to fall on your face. You can't guard a baby from falling and ever really truly prepare them to be successful, because there's going to be a point in time that you're not there and they're going to fall. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. So you want to make sure that they don't hurt themselves if at all possible, but you be prepared that they're going to fall. Same thing in life. If you're going after business, if you're going after something, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have if you're investing, you're going to hit some losses. If you're building a business, your business might crash initially. You might fail at it the first time. But the thing is, it's not a failure until you accept it. That's the thing I try to tell everybody. In the same way that you are operating in the stock market. If you buy stocks and your stocks are at $89, $90 a share, and all of a sudden something happens in the market and they drop 30, 40 bucks. Now they're worth $60 a share. And you're going, oh my God, you've actually not lost anything yet. Why? Because your loss isn't realized until you sell and finalize and lock in that loss. If you hold like most, profitable long-term, guys who are handling their business investors do, you know that you've invested in something solid that has stood the test of time and been proven to be a top performer. It will recover. The price will go back up. The market does this all the time. It corrects itself because it becomes highly inflated, meaning that the values in the stocks in the market are valued at a higher point than they're actually worth. And the market will eventually figure it out on its own. It's got all these crazy ways that it does it. And it'll correct itself. Sometimes it overcorrects because the inflated value is so high, called a bubble, that the bubble bursts. And the natural response in the market creates a steep decline. And it can go from a recession to a crisis to a crash. And those are the different levels. And then you look at it, but what you have to find out is that the market always corrects itself. It has for since it's been up, it corrects itself. So if you just sit there and if you've invested in true proven performers, chances are you're going to recover. It's the people who get in and try to trade and guess the market that lose the most. Oh, it's going to go up. I'm gonna sell. I mean, I'm gonna sell once it gets here. Oh, it's going down too fast. I'm gonna sell. You panic. I think it was Ray Dalio. I'm getting a little off, but I'm just trying to make a point. I think it was Ray Dalio, a multi-billionaire who runs the largest hedge fund company in the world. I think it's like 160 something billion dollar hedge fund, which is huge for a hedge fund. And anybody who understands hedge fund understands why that number is so hard to manage. The bigger it gets, the harder it is to manage and move assets. But anyway, Ray Dalio said the stock market is the only place that when things go on sale, people panic. That's all a drop in price. When you get to a bearish market, that's all it is. It's a sale. When you see stocks that you know have performed well in the past take a hit, that's the time to buy. Why? Because the market's going to recover. You've got companies that's been out there in that market forever, and they've survived the long haul. They know how to get through tough times. They know how to deal with financial crisis and shifts in the global economy and the local and federal economies and everything else they've got to deal with. So they're going to come back and they're going to recover. And so you just stay with it. That's what the big wigs, the heavy hitters do. They buy and hold. And they wait for, matter of fact, you've got crisis investors, guys that sit up and wait for the market to crash and buy pennies on the dollar, knowing that the stuff is going to go back up. They wait. You got to think. One of the first things I asked when I started trying to study the stock market, okay, if you got stuff and it's going down, and the whole idea is when you start to lose money is to sell, who in the hell is buying it? Because if it's going down and going down is bad, what dummy is buying it? Actually, it's the geniuses that are getting rich off of the people who are selling that's buying it. And they're going to buy and hold, and it's going to go back up. And they'll probably hold that as a permanent or a long-term asset. And what I'm saying is the same thing in life. You're going to have those moments where you're down. You got to push through it. You got to hold on. You got to understand that every step I take is not going to be one upward. Sometimes I'm going to take some back. Sometimes I'm going to take some down. It's a part of the continuum on which you live in life. You've got to be willing to stand up and take that on. With that being said, I'm going to check out of here. But remember, one of the biggest things that you can do, one of the smartest things that you can do is evaluate those in your periphery, evaluate those in your circle. Determine those who are, first of all, heading in the same direction you're headed. Always keep some people who have done what you're aspiring to do in your circle. Find some people you can model. Find people who've done what you've done. Make a connection with them. If you can, find you a mentor. If you can't find people who have done what you've done, connect with them, model their behavior. Even if you don't understand it, model it. Why? Because you're likely going to run into things you don't understand because you're going into an area of life you've never been into. If you've never been financially successful, you're not going to understand what financially successful people do. You're going to be comfortable with people who are not financially successful in what they do because that's what you're used to. So you've got to be willing to accept that it's going to be uncomfortable and a lot of times it won't make sense. But eventually, as you begin to see things work for you, and again, I'm not telling you that it's going to be all the way hunky-dory once you do this. Life doesn't work that way. You're going to take some punches to the gut. But how well you sit up and determine in yourself you're going to do, no matter what, it's going to determine how you view getting punched in the gut. I've trained myself to see adversity as an opportunity. So when I get to a point to where the vicissitudes of life roll into my paradise, I don't get shaken. I don't become frenetic and unglued. I don't lose my mind. I don't go, oh, woe is me. Why me? Oh, God, man, can't I get a break? I anchor myself. I position myself to take the blow. And I start pushing forward. Shoot, 2012, I got knocked flat on my back. I mean, in the worst way, absolutely the worst year of my life. Everything I fought for was gone, just like that. Well, it started early on up to that, but I thought I had it managed. And then 2012 saw me at the worst place I had ever been in my life, flat on my back, with almost nothing but my name. And where most people start praying, oh God, help, oh God, deliver. Oh God. I had already learned in life that when you come to this moment, it isn't for you to pray to come out of it. It is for you to pray to get through it. See, the problem with a lot of us is that we want comfort more than we want character. We want to be removed from anything that challenges us, anything that pushes us up against the wall. We don't want that. But I can remember a long time ago, long before 2012, hitting a couple of months. Matter of fact, it was when my father, who was my adopted father, but also my biological great-grandfather, my father was dying. And it was a 5-year process where they counted this man out at least 15 times, said he wasn't going to live more than a week. And he looked at him and told him, I'm not done yet. And literally denied death the honor. I'm telling you, the power of your mind and the faith and the ability to sit up and do. When you have that will, you will be surprised what you can accomplish. It got to the point to one of his doctors who was an atheist when he met my grandfather. Through this 5-year process, it got to the point to when my grandfather was almost about to pass, that this doctor walked up to me and told me, I have just come to the conclusion that your dad's not going to die until he gets ready to. Because he kept writing him off. And my dad was like, nope, I still have work to do. And little did I know the work that he had to do was me. I was in my 20s. He died when I was 25. And the one thing I kept praying for is that some kind of way he came out of this. He was 83 when he passed, but I still was holding on because that was my best friend. That was my heart. That was the man that showed me what it meant to me. I'm still trying to measure the level of manhood and masculinity and love that this man had. And so he set the standard. And I'm trying to raise that standard and leave it to my kids and leave it to the community around me. But anyway, I kept praying. And the one thing that I got out of this, it wasn't any audible responses, but when you connect with the universe, with the energy of God, and you really connect, I'm not talking about all this emotional stuff that we tend to do that does nothing but get us emotionally high. I'm talking about really and truly understanding the relationship between you and the Creator, where you know exactly what's going on. You can feel the energy. I mean, literally in everything you touch, everything you hear, and you get one in sync. You can hear. You can hear so much wisdom. You can hear things. And what I remember when I was praying, it changed my whole way I deal with God now. It changed the whole thing then because I'm praying. And just as clearly, it wasn't an audible sound, but it was clearer than an audible sound. An audible sound. It was, I'm not going to take you out of it, but I will bring you through it. See, you've become engrossed in the idea of comfort, but I'm more concerned about your character. And I can't build character in comfort. And from that moment on, I stopped asking to come out. And I simply asked for the strength to push through. Same thing in 2012. I didn't go, oh my God, get me out of this. How did I get here? Please help. The one thing I said to my Creator was this: don't let me die in this. If you wake me up, I'm going to answer the bell. Just wake me up. You've already designed me with everything I need. It's already there. It was there from the moment I came into this world. You gave it to me to do everything that I'm going to do in this life. You created it, and it is a part of my design. All I'm saying is don't let me die in this. And I'm going to wake up every morning and answer the bell. I'm going to fight my way out. I'm still fighting. But when I look at where I was then to where I am now, I could have quit 1,000 times. Hell, I could have quit and laid it down. There's a bunch of people wouldn't even thought it was, man, I understand. That's what probably a lot of people would have said, man, I understand why he just quit. But I don't know how. And that's the difference between me and a lot of other people. Not that I'm smarter, not that I have all the answers. I just refuse to quit. If I'm breathing, I'm still in the fight. And that's the mindset you got to have. And one of the best ways to guard that mindset is to watch the people around you. Get people to pour into you. I'm not talking about yes men or yes women, those that tell you you're right no matter how crazy you are. I'm talking about people that believe in you, that can understand where you're at, and that don't mind coming and tell you. So people that'll hold you accountable. See, you want people that sit up and say, okay, you talking some crazy stuff, but you know what? You say you're going to do it, so I'm going to hold you to it. So when you don't get up when you should, they call you, man. You should have been up an hour ago. You say you were going to be at the gym every morning at 4. It's 4:30. I don't see you. You need people that's going to sit up and say, hey, man, you said you was going to put so many hours into the business. I've been seeing you, at the club or at the bar after hours, blah, blah, blah. That's what you need. You need somebody that's going to hold you accountable, but support your vision. See, what I'm going to tell you is, if you're not putting in the effort, I don't care how much you want it, you're not going to have it. You're putting in the effort and you truly believe it's coming. It may not be coming in the time frame that you want it. Nothing ever does. Because there's going to be always these needs that are immediate. And what a lot of us make the mistake of doing is getting buried in the need of the moment and losing sight of the focus of the vision. And what that does is takes us out of progressive mode and puts us in a survival mode. When all you can see is what is absolutely needed right now, and you lose complete sight of what's important in the vision, you change your shift to what you need to do. Plus you change your focus, and you say, for instance, you have a goal to raise or to generate $100,000 your first year in business. And that goal requires for you to do some things that kind of puts your immediate needs in jeopardy at times, because you're looking at the long picture and you're willing to make some sacrifices up front to live out a way that doing it this way is never going to get you to. So you stop doing it the old way, you start doing it the new way, but then all of these new things start to happen. Now your goal is 100,000. So when you're thinking you've got $100,000 mentality. This is the best way I can prove it. You've got $100,000 mentality. So everything that you're sending to your reticular activating system, that's filtering out what's important to your subconscious, which is controlling the vast majority of what you do. Don't ever get the idea that your conscious mind is in control. Your subconscious mind controls far more of your behavior than your conscious mind does. So what you're feeding it is extremely important. So you've got this $100,000 mentality. So everything you're attempting to do is working you towards the $100,000 goal. Will at times put you in jeopardy with some immediate needs. Check this out. If you get too centered on the fact that you've got $100 or $200 light bill due, the light bill's got to be paid. But if you go into survival mode or panic mode, which is another way of looking at it, and all you think about is that $200, guess what you just did? You shifted from a $100,000 mentality to a $200 mentality. And what does your mind bring you? Exactly what you focus on the most. So now you're not even doing anything that can remotely produce 100,000. You're solely fixed on coming up with that $200. Now here's the problem when you get into survival mode. You're likely to come up with the $200 because we're highly resourceful when we want to. Matter of fact, resourcefulness is your greatest resource. Anyway, you're sitting here and you're going, today you finally come up with the $200. Here's the problem. While you were doing that, something else came up. Now the gas bill is due. Now the car note is due. So now you find yourself every day in survival mode. The problem with survival mode is you can't see past it. So you're never planning to do anything that will get you out of it. So you end up being in survival mode 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years. If you've looked up and you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you had this idea of something, but all you've done is worked your butt off to get the bills paid, and you're there, you've been in survival mode. You've convinced yourself you've had to be in survival mode. You don't see it any other way. It's not until you step out of that, be willing to take a risk, because it doesn't come with risk. Advancement and elevation does not come with risk. I've heard it referred to as burning your bridges, not mistreating somebody who's helping you, but burning the retreat, burning your path to retreat, burning the easy way. We fail to reach heights unknown because we give ourselves a way out. one thing that I never will forget it. One thing my wife asked me when we first really decided we were going to get serious, and it was a real casual way she asked it, but she already had she was looking to see where I was. She had an idea because she had known me. She started out as my client. You know, we dealt with that. Then we went our separate ways. Then we came back around each other about a year and a half later. And, you know, that was this interest and we pursued it. But so she knew who I was, but she wanted to get an idea of just how far along I was in my thinking. So she asked me a real simple question. Do you have a plan B? I know what your vision is. I know what your vision is. I know where you want to go, but do you have a plan B? My answer was no, I do not have a plan B. She's like, oh, okay then. And I was actually expecting it because most people are like, you gotta have a plan. Oh my God, you know, I have plan B, C's, and D's for as how I'm gonna go after my vision, but my vision is my plan. It doesn't change. Where I'm headed is where I'm headed, and nothing's going to stop that. Nothing is ever going to come in. I'm never going to reach a point where I said, you know what, I gave it my best shot. I'm going to do. Let me tell you what a plan B does. When you sit up and say, okay, I want to be a business owner, and then your plan B is, well, I can always go contract and work for this company over here, or I can work for this company and do this over here if this doesn't work. The moment you say, if this doesn't work, I'm going to do this, you immediately guaranteed that this wouldn't work, because the moment that it gets to that point where you reach your tolerance threshold of pain and struggle, you're going to bow out of the vision and go to plan B. Plan B is your way out. You don't give yourself a way out. You fight through it. Oh, it hurts. It's tough. Sometimes you might be alone. Sometimes nobody's going to understand you. Sometimes people don't talk behind. You're going to always have negative things going on that you can take and use as an excuse why you can't. What you need to do is have a why so huge, that reason, that purpose for what you're doing it. See, my reason is bigger than me. My reason now, I used to chase it because of me, but the why then was huge. I was proving myself. I was actually proving when I was successful early in life in whatever I did, I was actually proving myself to my deceased biological father. Didn't realize it at the time, but I was still trying to prove to a man that died when I was 14 I was worthy of his time, because I never knew him. The first time I ever laid eyes on him, he was in a casket. But he left me some beautiful sisters and a stepmother that loved me. And did a lot for me in times I really needed somebody to be there. But I never knew him. And that hurt me. I had a man that was unbelievable in my life, but not knowing my father and trying to answer the question of why he couldn't be there and why he wouldn't be there and why he was there for his other kids but wasn't there for me. I struggle with that. I'm trying to tell you that I'm not perfect. I didn't come from this perfect environment. I had all these things I had to fight to get somewhere. But I found a way to use that as energy, as the force behind me. Here's the problem. When you use that kind of negative energy, where you're trying to fight because somebody's got you angry, or you're pushing for something to prove something to somebody else, you burn so much of your soul that it starts to take pieces and chunks out of you, and you start to lose yourself in it. But when you got a why that's bigger than you, it stops being about you. It starts being about how you're going to make an impact in the world, how you're going to leave a legacy, how you're going to touch lives, how you're going to provide for your family. When I wake up in the morning, my biggest why is laying next to me. When I look into her eyes, I know she trusts me, and that trust drives me. When I look into my kids, and I see from the oldest, who has been married now for 12 years, somewhere close to that, and on down to the youngest, which is 3. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know how to stop, and I didn't reach an age where I thought I was too old, obviously. But I look at them and I look at what I'm responsible for, and I'm never happy with what I've done. You know, I've given it a lot. I've given my heart to my kids, But I'm always looking for a better way to be a better father. I'm looking for a way to grow, a better way of handling situations with my younger kids than I handle with my older kids. I'm always looking, but that drives me. It drives me to be a force financially. It drives me to be a force in my marriage. Why? Because I'm modeling marriage for my sons who are not getting a lot of that out in the world, not even in the church. So I'm sitting up and I'm trying to model what it means to be a man. How though I may be the head, I'm not the dominant force in the house. How I may be stronger, but I'm not the imposing force in the relationship. How I look to cover and love my wife. And I can say this openly because I know that she's often talking about it more than I talk about it. Because someone told me a long time ago, and I know I'm kind of going off, but I really want you to understand what's in front of you right now. It's what you actually make of it. But I remember being told, dog, it's been 20 years now. I asked somebody I respected as a mentor at the time in the spiritual sense what he thought about another person we had just met. And his response was, I don't know. I haven't met his wife yet. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? You met him? He says, no. He said, you can tell the character of a man by the countenance of his wife. If he's really handling his business as a husband, you can look at her face and you can see it. You can see it when he walks in the room. You can see it when his name is mentioned. You can see it in the way she holds her head up. You can see it in the way she squares her shoulders. You can see it when his name is mentioned. So I need to observe his wife to get a real idea of what it is. Because see, no matter what you do out in the community, if you're not taking care of home, you still don't have it. You're not locked in. But if you start at home and you're taking care of things at home, even if things are not going the way they should be going out here, they're going to start to work that way because you're working outward. And if you're truly committing to being the best husband you can be, it can't help but be transitioned and transformed and show itself in other parts of your life. All of that to say this: there's absolutely no place you can be in life, no matter what age you are, that you can't walk out of it and become better and become stronger and do things that other people have said that are impossible. Like Muhammad Ali said, and I'm going to be out on this. If you've listened to me before, you've heard me quote this, but Muhammad Ali was once asked about some of the things he was doing in that many people thought it was impossible. And he said, impossible is simply a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to accept the world that they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is potential. Impossible is actually nothing. Look at what that man accomplished, not just in the ring. His greatest accomplishments are outside of the ring. Look at what he did. Look at how he's revered, even by the people who once hated him. There's no place you can be in this life that you can't elevate your level of living. But you've got to first determine within yourself that you can, and then you need to clear out your circle of that negative energy of people who are going to consistently try to find ways to tell you you can't. And like I said, it's not going to be easy because they're going to be the people that you love. Those are the people in your circle. And a lot of them are not going to be doing it because they're trying to hurt you. They're actually thinking they're helping. But shoot, it doesn't, we talk about the importance of intent, but there's sometimes intent doesn't matter. If my worst enemy what can I do? What can I say? If my worst enemy somehow gives me exactly what I need to complete a deal, I'm advanced. Even though if he meant it for evil, what he did for me had good. At the same sense, if the person who loves me the most and has the greatest intent for me puts cyanide in my coffee, I'm dead. No matter what their intent was, if they thought it was sugar, but it was cyanide, and their intent was to sweeten my coffee, but they put cyanide instead of sugar, they killed me. Same thing. Your family can want the best for you, but if they don't have the equipment to help you get the best, they're often toxic because they can only function at the level of their own beliefs. The worst place you can be is the first person in your family to break the mold of thought. That is a bad place to be, because everybody you love is looking at you like you've lost your damn mind. But anyway, that's it. I absolutely love you guys. As I always say, I'm going to Downey. I actually was not planning on spending an almost hour with this. It was supposed to be about a 30-minute segment. I was going to be in and out, but hey, I'm not bad. You have everything that you need in front of you to access everything you want, and you have everything inside of you to ensure that you have the capacity. Now you become, you get what you become, or you get what you are. If you're not yet achieving something, it's because you've not yet become it. Doesn't mean you can't become it. It simply means you have not yet. So your job is to search yourself first, determine what it is you need in order to have what it is you want, and then become it. For any additional resources, if you want to find out more about how I work with my clients to achieve some pretty crazy and extraordinary things, you can visit the link in there in the comment box and in the description box if you are getting this video after it's uploaded to YouTube on the Visionetics channel. Definitely check that and visit the site. There are a lot of free resources where you can read and learn techniques. There's some paid resources that get you more focused and on track. And then there's also the opportunity to work directly with me. Whatever you do, learn the fastest way to start to believe in yourself. Because one of the things, I know I said I was going to, one of the things that I see mostly when I work with people of faith is they have an idea of God, and however they see him as infinite. They see him as omnipotent. They see him as omnipresent. They see him as omniscient. They see him as all encompassing. They've got the idea in whatever way they view it. And it's a number of different ways that that it can be viewed, but they view it, they got it. They see all this power, and they say that they are a part of it, but they haven't made the connectivity to the fact that they are actually infused with that power, and that they have the power to create by thoughts. Something as simple, calling things that are not as though they were, believing and moving toward them into the universe begins to conspire on their behalf to bring them the very thing that they set forth in their mind. Oh, I mean, it's there, that power. That's the difference in what some people are doing and making things happen that they wouldn't have thought of years ago, but then decide to embrace possibility instead of always talking about what's impossible. It's out there. Again, I love you guys. It's always a pleasure and an honor to sit down. I've got to jump off of here and get some things going. But I will tell you, I love you guys. I'm going to Downey. I encourage you to do the same thing. I'm out of here. Peace.